Hello everyone and welcome back to NFLTV, a massive edition coming up. Of course, in Division 1 and 2 we have our final round of the home and away year. In Division 3, the first week of the senior final series. I'm Samuel Zito, joined by Ramon Pinataro. Ramon, I reckon the results in round 16 and 17 have thrown up that many upsets that round 18 now is arguably the biggest final round of the year we've had in the Northern Football League. I think it's realistically 5 games this weekend and every result has a massive influence on not only the top 5 but also down at the bottom end of the table as well. Really, 5 bumper games coming up this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. I'm looking at Bundoora, Northcote and Hardwork all face the possibility of facing off in the elimination final. Also, it seems like it's all over for the Epping Footy Club. We'll be back in Division 2 next season. It's going to be a really exciting round of footy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's some likely scenarios, but nothing ultimately set in stone except for the fact that Montmorency will win the minor premiership. Came in unusual circumstances, given that they lost at the weekend against Northcote Park, their third loss in 4 weeks. It seems that certainly that invincibility around them is certainly gone now. They're 13-0. They're now 14-3. It must be going into the last game of the year. They take on Lower Plenty this weekend, of course, the next door neighbours, and it's a big game because Montmorency wants to obviously go into the final series with winning form. They're going to go in as the warm favourite. For Lower Plenty, it's all about if they don't win, they've got to just keep the margin pretty tight at the moment between them and Epping. Of course, there is a 4-point buffer. Lower Plenty with the 4 wins this year. Looking at percentage, 7% separates the two sides. A total number of points of 183 points. So, given that they lost to Montmorency by 100 points last time, they want it to be a lot closer than what that was. But I mean, just say in the scenario that there was a blowout, Epping would still need to win by 11 or 12 goals to jump them on the ladder. So Lower Plenty is looking pretty safe. But they'll obviously love to get an upset in the last game of the year and really give Montmorency some bigger worries going into the final series. They certainly haven't taken the best form into September.
No, they certainly haven't, Montmorency. And can we question the bigger grounds? Is that really getting to Montmorency? I'm not sure. They only lost 5 points to Northcote Park, but in my opinion, losing is losing, and that was just another bad loss to Montmorency. As for Lower Plenty, of course, they'll go into this match wanting to actually win for 2 reasons. Obviously, they want to get done by a huge amount and going into next season, that under their belt. For the game itself, I'm going to stick with Montmorency, but I think Lower Plenty are going to be much more competitive this time around.
I guess for Lower, they're at the 4 wins, which is what they achieved last year. They'd love to make it a 5th and show that gradual improvement. So it was a tough day for them at the weekend against McLeod. There was some personal issues there, unfortunately, for the club and losing a much loved figure within their club as well. So the day started on a really sad note, and unfortunately the senior side couldn't get the win as well. So a big day coming up for them. Of course, 2 great rivals. Montmorency certainly the favourites, but they've certainly just hit a bit of a lull in their form heading into the final series. The second game for us to take a look at is Epping taking on the West Preston Lakeside Football Club. This game starting 15 minutes earlier. It is a 1:55 start. West Preston, they lost the second game in a row against Hardwork at the weekend. They were in it for the first half, but Hardwick's experience got them over the line again. And for West Preston now, they're 4 points and a fair bit of percentage, 15% out of the top 5. So realistically, they're going to need something special to make the finals from here. It would need a big win and also rely on McLeod and also Altham losing. I mean, they're going to give it every shot you would imagine. I watched Epping at the weekend. They weren't too bad against Greensborough. Certainly missed 3 of their better players with Daniel Moore, Daniel Santoro and Sean Bolger all missing. Epping certainly gives themselves a chance to win this game, no doubting that. They need to win big to avoid relegation. West Preston needs to win big to, have any chance of making the top 5. It is an exciting game in store.
Yeah, I think it will be. There's certainly possibilities for West Preston Lakeside to make finals, Epping avoid relegation. I personally think it's not going to happen. I just can't see West Preston Lakeside winning by a huge amount. I can't see Epping winning by a big amount either to avoid that relegation. So the game itself, I think it can go either way. I'm actually going to go for an upset. I'll tip Epping to win by a couple of goals.
I'm sticking with West Preston Lakeside. I mean, certainly Epping's had a really competitive second half of the year. They're 3 wins for this season. I reckon at the start of the year, if they were to win this game, if you said you had 4 wins, they might think they'd had a chance to have avoided relegation. I think they've had, despite the limited number of wins, I think it's still been a pretty successful year for Epping, particularly the second half of the season. They've certainly showed that they are capable. West Preston Lakeside sits in 7th. Given the amount of injuries they've had throughout the year, it's a credit to them that they've been able to stay in finals contention for as long as they have, and they've beaten some good sides along the way. Obviously, the win at McLeod was memorable, the midway point of the year, and also knocking over over Bundoora just a couple of weeks ago. When they won that one, you probably thought they were finals bound, but they've done well to hang on, given the fact they've used up to 53 players this year, and I think they found a couple for years to go forward, so certainly plenty of positives moving forward for West Preston.
And I think so. Like I said, I remember going back to round 2 against Eltham, how they got thumped. They had some really bad losses, and I certainly wouldn't have put them anywhere near the finals this year. Congratulations to Frank and Bass on getting where they are. They're certainly going to be another powerful force in next season.
Yeah, I would have thought that they'd certainly be knocking on the door next season, but obviously it's going to be pretty tough from here, given they'll need a few results to go their way. One result they'll need to occur is Greensborough to get a win at DeWinton Park against the McLeod Football Club. Greensborough's hit a good patch of form late in the year. They've won their past 2 games. I think a lot of it comes down to Tim Bongetti returning to the side. He straightens them up. He was great again at the weekend against Epping in that win. He was sensational against Northcote Park as well, and he just gives them that focal point up in the forward line. I know, was it the game at the weekend? I was disappointed that Eltham got up, because had Eltham lost, Greensborough would still be in the finals mix at this stage of the year. They've actually got a better percentage than West Preston Lakeside, but they're mathematically not a chance, given they are 2 games behind Eltham. McLeod get the win at Lower Plenty, which is never easy. It's never an easy ground to go to. It's so different in its dimensions, and it's hard to really adapt on the smaller ground. So McLeod did well there. These 2 teams have had so many close games in the past 5 years or so, and I reckon this one's going to be another thriller. McLeod currently sits 4 points behind Eltham. Percentage is about 3.5%. I've done the math. It's about 50 points as such. So if Eltham was to go down, say, by 5 goals, McLeod's going to have to win by over 20 points to make it. I think in the last quarter of every game, everyone's going to have the calculators out around the grounds looking for the live scores. I'm going to tip McLeod, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if Greensborough got up and won this game here. I reckon it's going to be pretty close, and McLeod certainly banking on a win here, but also needing West Preston to lose by, Eltham to lose by a decent margin as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for Greensborough, they managed to pick up, after 8 straight losses, they managed to get their form back just far too late in the end. And just going by McLeod as well, they had a great win over Lower Plenty. I believe they had 6 plays out, as Gary Ramsey had said. For the game itself, I think anything is really possible. I think they can still get that 5th spot. Of course, Eltham will need to lose against Hardwork. But going on last year's result, how Whittlesea went down to Lower Plenty in the last game of the season, I think anything's possible. So McLeod for mine.
Yeah, I think it is going to be a situation where we've seen so many upsets. You'd almost argue that in the past 2 weeks we've probably seen 6 upset results, maybe 3 a week. At the very least, 3 the previous week and 2 at the weekend. So anything can happen, and I think that's the probably only given this week is to expect the unexpected. Well done also to Greensborough veteran Conlon Gunn, who played his 200th at the weekend. He was sensational in that win, and Tristan Stead was voted the Narella Pools Player of the Day. You can check out his interview with Brad Emmett at the website www.nfl.org.au. Heidelberg and Eltham, the next game we take a look at. Big game for both sides. Pretty simple scenario for both. If Heidelberg wins, they get a double chance. If Eltham wins, they play finals football. It's as simple as that. Plenty at stake. Eltham hasn't beaten Heidelberg since 1982. It was a premiership year. Both sides were in Division 2 back when that happened. Eltham's suddenly hit a rich vein of form. They were pretty ordinary against Epping 3 weeks back. They've managed to bounce back with some really good wins, and I'd argue that their win over Bundoora at the weekend is the best win they've had in probably 2 or 3 years, so it really was that important. And Heidelberg, well, they got into some good form as well. They had some good players coming back into the team. Jamie Allen back in the side. Lance Oswald came back in. Unfortunately, he was injured, so they actually lost 2 players during the game, with Oswald and also Adam Koff going down. So it was a good win against good opposition away from home. Of course, it was West Preston celebrating their Lakeys Day as well, and to come away with a near 7-goal win was a sensational result, and probably exactly what they were after heading into the final series. But this game here is going to be an absolute ripper. Heidelberg certainly has the much better form against Eltham, though.
Oh, they certainly have. As you said, 1982 was their last win, their premiership year, Eltham. As for the game itself, it's going to be really interesting. It was a great win, Eltham over Bundoora. Who would have expected that? Who also would have expected after their loss against Epping they'd be a chance to play in the finals? Remembering last time Heidelberg did defeat Eltham by 7 goals, so I'm still going to be going with Heidelberg, but it should be a close game.
Yeah, of course. Eltham really kicked in accurately early in that game, and it cost them any chance, but they've hit their form, or their straps, at the right time of the year, it has to be said. And I don't think many people could believe the scoreline when they looked at the round scores and saw Eltham 40 to Bundoora 0, given Bundoora was coming off such a big win against Montmorency. So this game's going to be a massive one. I can't go past Heidelberg at home. Their record against Eltham, it has been that good for so long. I think they almost deserve the tip, and I think they will get that double chance. The last game of the round, well, it doesn't get bigger than this. It's Bundoora taking on Northcote Park. Again, a simple situation for the winner. You get the double chance in September. If Northcote Park loses, they can't get a double chance. They'll have to finish in 4th spot. If Bundoora was to lose, well, they could still get a double chance, but they'd also need to rely on Heidelberg losing. So it's pretty simple. Your destiny's in your own hands. You win the game, you get the double chance. It is being played at Yulong Reserve. Northcote Park's won the past 4 games against Bundoora. This one's going to go right down to the wire, I'm sure of it. And gee, Bundoora, they've gone from sitting comfortably in 2nd, and in the space of 7 days, they're again now at risk, really, of missing out in the top 4. They've had 2 disappointing losses in the past 3 weeks, and right in between that's probably been their best performance of the year when they beat Montmorency.
Yeah, I think so. And who's the last side they want to be playing against this week is Northcote Park. As you mentioned, Samuel, the last 4 times Northcote Park has defeated Bundoora. That's something you don't really want to know. As for the game itself, it's going to be really interesting. I can't actually pick a win. I was even thinking about that on the way here. I'm actually going to go a couple of goals either way.
It's sitting on the fence there. I'm going to stick with Bundoora. I just think their form at home this year has been really good. I think they've lost just 1 game at home, and that was to Heidelberg when they had a good first half and fell away in the second half. So I'm going to stick with them there. But Northcote Park, full credit to them. What a response for them at the weekend. They had lost to Greensborough in disappointing circumstances. To bounce back, to be 5 goals down against the minor premier and to come back and win, it shows with a lot of young kids in their side as well that they've still got that determination. And if they can get a double chance, they're every opportunity to go back to back, and you'll have to think that given they did it last year, you'd have to give them some chance if they were to finish 4th as well. They've beaten some good sides now. They've obviously knocked over Bundoora in the run, Montmorency now in the lead into finals. So I'm just sticking with Bundoora, but only just. And as I said, I'm just about sitting on the fence as well. It's going to be tough to pick either way. I'll give you a quick, in one word, who finishes 5th? Is it Eltham, McLeod, or potentially can West Preston somehow cause a miracle?
Well, as I predicted, McLeod to finish 5th in the season launch, but I just got this feeling. I think Eltham's win over Bundoora last week, I'm just going to have to slightly go on percentage for Eltham this year.
Yeah, I think Eltham's just going to scrape in. I think that it might be a situation where they do lose to Heidelberg and McLeod also gets over Greensborough, but I think that game there is going to be so close. I think, it's going to come right down to the wire, but I'm just sticking with Eltham. And I reckon if you roll the tape back to the start of the year, I think I had Eltham sneaking in for 5th as well, so I'll claim that one. You might get the spoils if McLeod gets in. So a massive weekend of footy coming up. Make sure you get out around the grounds. If you can't make it, make sure you tune in to 88.6 Plenty Valley FM. We'll have the NFL match of the day with all the around the ground scores. Also at the website, make sure you check out the live scores. Just hit the results tab, and then click your competition. Have around the ground scores from all the games. So I reckon a lot of people will be checking those out throughout the afternoon. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we take a look at Division 2 and also Division 3.